Hello, everybody, and happy kickoff. You're tuned into the Couch GMs podcast. It is Thursday, September 5th, the start of the 2024 NFL season. I'm your host, George Kerth, joined by the one and only Cody Roadcap and the crockpot man himself, Tyler Snyder. Welcome back for our season prediction show. How are you doing?
I'm so ready to put these crock pots to use. Every Sunday is Crockpot Sunday, so you can just have a ready to go meal while you're watching football all day. So I'm ready to put the crock pots to use, man. It's football season.
And I know our big game is coming up tomorrow, Cody, but NFL season starting today. How you doing?
I'm doing great. And then after today, I can't talk to you. Go Packers. Go Pack Go. Go Packers sounds weird.
Go
Pack
Packers.
Go.
He can't even say his teams. Go Birds. Anyway, NFL season starting up. We have a lot to talk about today as we're going to give all of our division winner, Super Bowl winner, playoff teams, award winners, everything you can think of. We're going to run down our predictions for the season and then see how poorly we did at the end of the season. But plenty of entertainment coming from you in debate today. Make sure if you have any questions or any other things to add to the debate, you can hit us in our DMs, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, at the Couch GMs, or starting next week, you can watch us live. I said live, Mondays and Thursdays at 6:30 before the primetime games come on. Ask us questions live. Make Cody and I and Tyler bicker as we, broadcast right out to you. So big, exciting development coming as we're going back to 2 episodes during the season and can talk to you guys as we talk here.
Tyler, how do you feel about that? I feel like we kind of just dropped that on you too. A little bit out of the loop.
It's fine. It's fine. I like being out of the loop. I can't be a hot takes guy if I'm in the loop on everything. So I'm ready. Bring it.
He's going to have his crock pot ready and his red Solo cup that is still somewhat mysterious, but not as mysterious. All right, guys.
I haven't had one in a while.
No, we don't know if there's one right off camera here. He's going to just pull one out right now.
No, I don't.
All right, guys, before we get into our predictions, why don't we sit back, relax, and chat?
Cody, hit the bumper.
It's nice that we already do this on the fly, and you can already see how Cody's going to forget so many bumpers when we're actually doing this live.
Yeah, we're not ready for live.
No, we're definitely not, but we're going to do it anyway because it's entertaining watching Cody scramble for a button. Couple of news pieces to hit before we go into our predictions. The 49ers finally figured out their contract holdout situations as they re-signed Brandon Ayuk and Trent Williams to contracts as we go into week 1 here. The interesting news on the Brandon Ayuk contract is they say that there's a report that he accepted the same contract that's been on the table for about a month now. Do you think that there was just a lot of talk back and forth and they finally convinced him to come back? Or do you think that he was someone dodging training camp? Like, what do you think the situation was there with Ayuk?
I think, and we kind of talked about this last week, is we're after the cutdown day, teams started to build their roster. And I'm not saying the Pittsburgh Steelers or the Patriots or the Commanders, whichever team were rumored to get him, wouldn't have made room for Ayuk. But I think they kind of were like, okay, if they're not going to accept our deal and trade, we're going to move on a different direction. And basically the options dried up and he had to return to the 49ers, and the 49ers should get credit for holding it out.
Yeah, I also think that this year we see a much deeper wide receiver core than we've seen in recent years. That could just be me, but I feel like almost every team has at least some pretty decent depth of playmakers, even if it's some no-name undrafted guys like that are showing up in camp. Like there's guys there that they feel like can contribute. So the need to go pay a big wide receiver isn't quite there as much as it used to be.
That's very true. And when you look at the fact, like they tried to trade him to New England, he would have been a wide receiver 1 there, but obviously he denied going to New England. His most likely landing spot would have been Pittsburgh, and he would have been 1A with George Pickens. He wouldn't even been like a sole number 1 on that team. So to your point, yeah, there's just a lot of other wide receiver talent out there.
Well, if you're going to bring up is he going to be a sole number 1 against a guy like George Pickens, then was the $30 million a year still an overpay for Brandon Ayuk?
Potentially. I mean, he fell right into the next man up gets a big contract kind of thing, but you've seen other wide receiver 2s get some big deals. Devontae Smith got a pretty big contract. I don't think it was quite $30 million this offseason. You're going to see T. Higgins, whether he stays with Cincy or not, is going to get a big contract. So it's just how the market is right now.
You mentioned T. Higgins.
Mhm.
So why don't we talk about his running mate, Jamar Chase? Back on the field on Wednesday, limited in practice. He's still holding out for a contract. Are you guys concerned at all about playing him? He was, top 5 draft pick in fantasy redrafts this year. Any concern at all about playing him in week 1?
Playing him, no, as long as he plays.
For sure.
I feel like if he's playing, then yeah, he's in my lineup. I'm not putting him on the bench. I don't care that he hasn't been in practice. I mean, Jamar Chase is the kind of guy that's just he's going to be able to go out there and ball. It's just who he is. Um, but I am worried about, is he going to play? Um, does the coaching staff determine that he's not ready? Does he decide to hold out a game at the last minute just for a little extra leeway on his contract negotiations? Like, that's what I'm worried about. But right now, I'm gonna guess he's playing, and if he is playing, he's in my lineup.
I'm with you there, Tyler. But if he doesn't go, are we? I mean, T. Higgins is a slam dunk, great play. Are we thinking about Jermaine Burton, who some people drafted as a flyer at the end of the draft? Do we? How do you pronounce his name? Isivash, something like that. Do you remember him from last year? He was like relevant for a week or two. He's their starting slot receiver. He kind of took over the Tyler Boyd role. Does he have any consideration if there's no Jamar Chase?
Uh, in my opinion, no. I think it's week 1. Don't get cute. I don't know about you guys, but in my fantasy drafts, I felt like the people that I was getting in round 12, round 13, I was still like, this is a pretty decent wide receiver. Like, I'm getting somebody that I might start here now. If you're getting some, scrub who might slot in for Jamar Chase in week 1, that means you might not have drafted very well. And we need to talk about your strategies. But no, don't get cute. It's week 1. Play your other guys.
Yeah, I think I'm in the same boat too. You probably have some, the guy that was going to replace him for bye weeks anyways. You have him on your roster. If you had to pick, or if you're in a super deep league like 14 or 16 or playing best ball, I think Jermaine Burton is the name to watch, even as the season progresses. And if they're going to move on from T. Higgins, you could start to overtake him. But this team's competing for a Super Bowl, so they're going to get those top guys involved as much as possible as quickly as they can.
Definitely. And then one more piece of news here before we get out. Kyle Pitts was announced to be limited in practice on Wednesday with a hamstring injury. I'm assuming he picked that up in practice. So not great going into week 1 where you don't know what the status of Kyle Pitts is going to be, as well as hamstring injuries linger. It's kind of concerning.
I'm hoping by the limited designation that it's more of precautionary, like he felt a little bit of tightness and they're like, hey, we value you. We're going to keep you from doing all the team drills, but he'll still be out there. At least that's my hope.
Yeah, the inner me wants to panic. I mean, I drafted Kyle Pitts in quite a few leagues. I'm with Cody that feeling like Kyle Pitts is a really good value this year. So I took Kyle Pitts quite a few places. So part of me wants to freak out that I'm like, oh man, this tight end that I was so excited to have is already injured and it's a hamstring. It's a scary injury. But yeah, I'm with Cody. We don't really know a whole lot yet. And there's no use freaking out over something you don't know. Have a backup plan. If you are a Kyle Pitts owner, make sure you do have a second tight end on your roster, or at least there's a guy on free agency that you are ready to snag. But right now, don't freak out.
So if he plays, you're going with him?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
Cody, do you even have a bumper here?
No, man, you're the fake bumper.
All right, ready? Bum, 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 bum. We're doing our season predictions for 2024 here. And Cody has generously made an entire spreadsheet that's sitting on Tyler and I's screen of a breakdown of every single division, our wild card teams, all the awards. We're going to go step by step all the way down the list, naming our picks for all of these. And eventually you will hear our Super Bowl matchup and champion. We can jump right in. We're going to start with the AFC and specifically the AFC North. Cody, you can go first this first time. Who do you have winning the AFC North in 2024?
All right. I think it's a 2-man race, but to not spoil who you guys might have picked, I am going to give the edge to the Baltimore Ravens.
I got the Baltimore Ravens.
I also have the Baltimore Ravens. I'm assuming the second team you had in there was Cincinnati.
Correct. That was the
All
second
right.
team. I want to go back and forth, and just because of the whole Jamar Chase situation, see how that plays out. Maybe they start a little bit slower, and Baltimore, gets it by a game or two.
those head-to-head matchups this year are going to definitely be, I think, what decides it. The Ravens have had a little bit of an edge lately, but last year was kind of hard to tell just because, with Joe Burrow hurt, there was a little bit of a struggle there in Cincinnati, and they missed the playoffs. But they're going to be back with a vengeance. It's going to be a close race. I think so, too. AFC East, Tyler, you want to go ahead?
Yeah, I'm going to go a little bit different than I feel like you guys are going to go. And I'm going to go with the Miami Dolphins.
Okay. I
did not.
also have the Miami Dolphins,
Wow.
and we can talk about the other team that you're probably thinking of here in a second. Cody, what do you have?
I have the New York Jets.
Yeah, I feel like the New York Jets are the chalk this year. They're the one that most people
That's
are going to
fair.
go with. And I do feel like a lot of people are still going to pick the Bills just because it's the Bills and, the history. I am a strong believer that the Bills are about to have a down year. Spoiler alert, I have the Bills missing the playoffs entirely. So I think that the Jets are going to be a really tough contender for them. But I feel like the Dolphins have the edge if Tua can stay on the field. But as you know, I don't play fantasy the same way I don't make my predictions. I don't base it off of potential injuries because injuries could happen to anybody. Aaron Rodgers. So Miami Dolphins.
I don't think there's any denying the Jets are going to be a lot better with Aaron Rodgers as long as he stays on the field. I think my biggest concern is them being a young team, keeping up with a team like Miami that's been around, is a contender, can run with anybody, especially when they're playing in warm weather. It's when we get to the playoffs that Miami really starts to concern me. If they have to go up north and play in that 20-degree outdoor game, I don't really like their odds. But if they're playing somebody early in the season in Miami with all that heat and they're just going to run all over you, I think they can beat anybody.
Yeah, I like your guys' Miami pick. It was a 2-team race for me between the Jets and the Dolphins, and I eventually just went with the Jets. Maybe there's some former homerism in that pick, but like Tyler, which is surprising because we don't agree too much, and we started out the show agreeing a lot. The Bills were a very tough one to see if they were going to make the playoffs for me. I won't spoil if they did or did not, but I think it's a 2-man race in the AFC East.
AFC East is going to be one of the more intriguing divisions as we look at the rest of this. We're going to move on to the AFC South. I'm actually next to start, but I'm going to have Tyler start and tell me why you said the Titans.
I went with the Houston Texans.
Okay.
The Houston Texans won the division last year. They were the better team. CJ Stroud now has a whole nother year under his belt. You add Stephon Diggs, you add Joe Mixon, you add some strong defensive pieces. Dude, this is a strong team. Big Titans fan. I have high hopes for my team, but I do believe that the Texans are the best team in this division. And it's honestly, at this point, it's their division to lose.
I also went with Houston, much of the same reason you said. I mean, they put even more pieces around a young quarterback who looked like he had a lot of potential, so they have a chance to make an even bigger step than they did last year.
Yep, I'm going with Houston as well. They're the favorites. They should be, but I think this division is going to end up being a lot tougher than people are going to give it credit for. I feel like the outside perception is the Houston Texans are going to run away with this, and the other 3 teams are going to be competing for top 5 picks. If you told me that it came down to week 16, 17, and 18, and all 4 teams were in the mix for the division title, I would not be surprised at all.
I'm 100% with you there.
This is the division that I don't know if there's going to be anybody. I think if anybody's going to be out there and be a 12-13 win team, the best chance is Houston. But if you told me last place in this division was the best record out of all the last places in the other divisions, I would believe it's a possibility. There's going to be other divisions that are close, example, the NFC South, but they're all kind of mediocre. If you're telling me Tennessee has the least upside of this division and they could have 7-8 wins, it's possible.
Yeah, and I think the other thing to mention is the fact that if Will Levis can prove himself, you also have CJ Stroud, you have Anthony Richardson, you have Trevor Lawrence. This is a young division on the rise. This division could be a powerhouse for years to come, in all honesty.
Just depends on how some of those young quarterbacks shake out. Moving on to the AFC West, I really don't want to pick chalk here, but there's just not somebody who's contending enough for me to not go with the Kansas City Chiefs here.
Chiefs.
Yeah, like you said, it's tough not to pick them. I couldn't find a way to put the Broncos, Raiders, or Georgia's favorite team, the Chargers, in the division title. I think one of them Probably the Raiders is the team I'm going to go with. Is going to flirt with the playoffs this year, but I don't think they're going to make it, and that's going to be their toughest competition.
Did you see that the Chargers announced that their starting fullback is going to be this like 6'4", 300-pound defensive lineman type player? It's going to be fun watching them run the ball 40 times a game, isn't it?
No,
I don't keep up with them like you do, bud.
Anyway, moving on to the NFC North. Interesting division here as well. There's a couple different teams you can choose here. I'm going to go with the Detroit Lions.
Yeah. Sorry, Cody. I'm going to go with the Detroit Lions as well. I do feel like they're the strongest team in the division, but I honestly believe that this is a tight race. And this is going to be tougher than a lot of people are going to give this division credit for as well. But I do think the Lions are going to edge it out, and I would not be surprised if it comes down to end of the season matchups to determine who wins the division.
Yeah, obviously, I'm going Green Bay. Call me a homer. I'm going Green Bay. I like what they did this offseason. They're the team I'm most connected to, most deep dived in. I'm super hyped for their game tomorrow. Like, Green Bay's going all the way. That's what I'm going to say right there.
All right. We'll see.
It's fair, and I think there's a little bit of homerism going on there, but there's a good argument to be made for the Packers to have a chance in the division. NFC East, I'll go last. It's like make Cody go last. Tyler, go first.
I got the Eagles. Cowboys went backwards. Eagles went forwards. Not much more to say there.
Honestly, I feel like this is the easiest division to predict. I feel like the Eagles are in a class of their own with the other three teams.
Giants are a joke. The Commanders, I think, show a lot of promise. I think they're going to be competitive, and I honestly think the Eagles are going to lose at least one game to the Commanders this year. They usually do. But I don't think they're there yet. And like I said, I feel like the Cowboys took a big step backwards. Not really sure what they're doing with their offseason. So, yeah, it's, again, Eagles division to lose.
I mean, they finally made one good move when they re-signed CD finally. But there's still a lot of other things they have to worry about through the season into next offseason. And they did take a step back, even though I don't think Philly really improved. Dallas declined. So I think it's my easy pick too. I'm going Philly.
Re-signing people is important. Re-signing people is a huge move. But when a re-signing is your best move of the season, best move of the offseason, you are not taking a step forward. Simple. They didn't win last year with CD. CD isn't good enough to carry the team on his back and win a championship, so you need to put more pieces around him, and instead they lost pieces.
And then also are just hoping Brandon Cooks turns back into Brandon Cooks, who had a very off year last year.
They got Zeke back, so it's,
And Dalvin Cook.
Don't sleep on Jalen Tolbert.
I'm sleeping on all of them.
We'll see how it works out for them and see if they make the playoffs in any of our wild cards coming up. But we have two more divisions. NFC South. Cody, you're next. Who you got in the NFC South?
Falcons. Easiest schedule.
I kind of made this as a joke when we were talking to Kempe and he was trying to put together his parlay of division winners. But I feel like there's a chance. I'm going to say something happens and it's New Orleans.
Okay.
Yeah, sure. You want to be wrong.
It's wrong, I'm sure. But if it does happen, I look like the smartest man in the room, so I'll just go with it. Honestly, that division, I know there's a lot of hype around Kirk in Atlanta, and it should make them a little better. They're a young team. We'll see. They're just not the most impressive to me still. So there's still a window open for the other teams in that division. I mean, honestly, Tampa Bay is still right there, too. They have a good defense. The Baker Mayfield revenge tour is still going.
Like, I'm not even saying Kirk is, like, the greatest thing ever. But, like, what about them gives you concern compared to the other teams?
I mean, I'm not a big Kyle Pitts guy. I still I get that now he finally has a quarterback, but
is he still the best tight end in that division?
How many tight ends actually can lead a team?
Or are you going to say Taysom Hill?
Taysom Hill's not even a tight end. He's listed as a tight end in fantasy because they don't know where else to put him. But I mean, there's a lot of hype around Drake London right now, and I think he could take a step, but still there's a chance that he doesn't either. Like, there's just so many question marks that I think there's still a window open for other teams, and Atlanta could completely prove me wrong and go out there and win 10 games with their schedule. It's very possible, but I don't know.
I just don't see how you look at any other team in the NFC South and don't go, yeah, Atlanta has, better pieces, more talent. I'm not saying they have the best players at every position. Like Cam Jordan's probably still better than anyone on their defensive line. Mike Evans is still probably the best receiver in the whole division. But as an overall team, I think they're the most well-rounded. And don't get me wrong, I'm not going as crazy as Kurt Bankert out there putting him as the number 1 seed. So
I don't even know. Okay, cool. NFC West. Is this one also chalk, or is somebody going against San Francisco?
I think it's San Francisco. I don't know if it's my turn to pick first.
Go ahead.
But
It doesn't matter.
I'll say San Fran. But I think this will be the most competitive division for a wild card spot.
Yeah, 49ers.
He thinks it's chalk. All right, this is where we get interesting here. So AFC, we're going to look at the wild card teams. So I'm going to have Tyler go first here. Your division winners were Baltimore, Miami, Houston, and Kansas City. Who are the other 3 AFC teams you have in the playoffs?
I have the Jets,
Okay.
the Bengals, and give me them Tennessee Titans. They're going to squeak in that final wild card spot. Call me a homer. I don't care.
I like it. I like it.
There's always that one team that nobody expects at the beginning of the season that sneaks into a wild card spot, or depending on the division, wins the division. So you're just taking your shot at that.
I feel like we honestly have the offensive pieces. I feel like we have the defensive pieces. They made a lot of good moves. We have great coaching. Tough division, but it's still winnable. I think the biggest thing holding the Titans back, and honestly, if you look at any media outlet that tries to rank the Titans, they'll name every playmaker on that team, which is a lot of the roster. They'll always go back to, I don't think Will Levis is good enough. I don't think Will Levis is good enough. I do. I think Will Levis is good enough. I'm not saying Will Levis is going to be the next Patrick Mahomes or anything, but we've seen some of the quarterbacks that have made the playoffs that are just game managers, that are just okay quarterbacks that are good enough to get there because they have a great roster around them. I can't, in my mind, see how Will Levis is worse than those guys. Dude's tough. Dude's got legs. Dude can honestly make some really impressive throws. With the playmakers around him, he doesn't even have to make that impressive of throws. Maybe it's just a homer in me, but I do think Levis is good enough, so I think Titans are going to surprise some people.
There is a group of teams down there that I didn't really know who to pick from. My top 4 division winners, Baltimore, Miami, Houston, and Kansas City, just like Tyler had. My wild card teams would be Cincinnati, the Bengals as well, and the Jets as well, just like Tyler. But my last team is not the Titans. And I really didn't want to put this, but I feel like Josh Allen's going to play enough hero ball to sneak the Bills into a 7 seed.
So ironically, it sounds like we all have the same 6, whether the division winners are flipped. But my first 2 are the Dolphins and the Bengals. They're in. For me, it was that 7 seed, which is so hard. And I've gone back and forth. The Bills, I thought the same thing. Was it going to be the hero ball? I think the Cleveland Browns, their defense, can Deshaun Watson be a game manager enough to get them back to the playoffs? They were very good last year. And then I talked about it. I think the Raiders could be a sneaky good team this year. They have a solid quarterback. Tyler just talked about game managers getting to the playoffs. That's what Minshew is. He will game manage, and he can do just enough to get them to a 7 seed. But ultimately, I went with the Cleveland Browns. I think their defense is just that good and will help carry them. But I definitely think Deshaun Watson can take them out of the playoffs for sure for one of those other 2 teams.
It's possible.
I could see it. That last seed is going to be the most interesting thing in the AFC. I think there's a pretty solid top 6. So I think we're pretty much in agreement there.
They say defense wins championships, and I would argue to say that the Browns have the best defense in the NFL. So if defense does win championships, then yeah, they should see themselves in the playoffs.
Just like last year when we really didn't think they could do much on offense until Joe Flacco got in there. But their defense was just keeping them in everything. Cody, you just went. Why don't you go again? Your NFC division winners were Green Bay, Philly, Atlanta, and San Francisco. Who are your wild cards?
So I have the Lions in there as a flip from who you guys had. And then for me, I have Cardinals and Rams, 2 extra teams for the NFC West.
Cardinals and Rams with the Lions there. Tyler, you have Detroit, Philly, Atlanta, and San Francisco. What do you got in your wild card?
Yeah, I think the Packers are in there. Like I said, I feel like it's going to come down to the end of the season to decide who's going to win that division, and I think the Lions just edge it out. So give me Green Bay. I know I talked a lot of smack on them, but I do think Dallas is going to squeak into the wild card. And then give me the LA Rams as well. Matt Stafford with Puka, with Cooper Kupp. I mean, I feel like they still have a decent enough defense. Did lose a few pieces. Big one there in Donald. But yeah, give me the Rams squeaking into that 7 seed.
This like fight for like 6 and 7 in the NFC is a lot more interesting than it was in the AFC with just the 7 seed. There's so many teams I could have justified giving a shot to. Anyway, my division winners were Detroit, Philly, New Orleans, and San Francisco. And I don't even have Atlanta in the playoffs. I will say that because I think there's just too crowded down there below. So I have Green Bay, just like you guys. So we have 2 from that division. I have the Rams and I have the Cardinals. And I won't lie, I didn't think Cody was going to have the Cardinals. I thought I was going to be alone on that one.
I have the Cardinals above the Rams, for the record.
I have the Rams and then the Cardinals. So
I almost took the Rams out of the playoffs. It was between them, the Cowboys, and the Seahawks. And then I would even put the Bucks ahead of the New Orleans Saints. But you do you, bro.
I love the feistiness. This is great. Usually
he
I'm
is
the
so
hot
mad
takes
at my NFC South pick, which is more than likely not going to have a big
But
effect.
yeah, just switch
anything in
mine to the
playoffs.
Carolina Panthers because we're just picking dumb stuff right now.
I am no longer the hot takes guy. This is crazy.
Man,
you're always be the hot takes guy.
Ruined everything. Before we get deeper into our playoffs, why don't we talk about awards? So Cody has us listed backwards here like we usually do. We're going to start with Coach of the Year. And I can go first because I don't think I went first last time here. My Coach of the Year, Detroit Lions head coach Dan Campbell.
Nice. Okay. Who won last year? Does anyone remember? Was it?
It was Stefanski, I thought.
That's what I thought. That
Taking
was my guess.
that Browns team into the playoffs.
Yeah, I thought he won. I couldn't remember if Campbell won. I know he was in the running for it. So maybe he gets it this year. For me, I just talked up the Cardinals. Let's give it to their head coach. Let's give it to Gannon.
I believe Coach of the Year does not go to the best actual coach, the best record. Otherwise, Andy Reid would probably win it every year. I think Coach of the Year goes to that team that nobody expected to make the playoffs, and they just really proved themselves, which makes me want to pick the Titans so badly. I want to pick Brian Callahan because if they do make the playoffs after everyone predicted them to have a top 3 pick, dude deserves it. But I did not go with Brian Callahan. I'm going with another team that a lot of people are not predicting to win their division, and I think they're going to come out there and dominate and potentially fight for a top 2 seed. And I'm going with Mike McDaniel from the Miami Dolphins.
Hey, he just got a contract extension not too long ago as well. So
it'd be the coolest Coach of the Year too. Dude's got swag.
He is the funniest person to watch on the sideline or other practice when you just see him one hand in his pocket. The meme when it's like when your dad gives you control of the company while he's on vacation, like that. That he's so fun.
Dude's chill. I like him.
We got defensive rookie of the year. Cody, I want to hear your take first.
Yeah, this one is tough. There's a lot of options. We saw that back in the draft. There wasn't a defensive player picked until the teens. So this one was tough on where to go. So I think I'm going to go pretty chalk with this one and go lot two of the Indianapolis
I just want
Colts.
to hear him say the name first.
So that's the name I'm going with.
Yeah, I went less chalk. I think the Atlanta Falcons are going to win the division, which is not a hot take. And I do think the Atlanta Falcons are actually going to be highly regarded for their offense, but I think their defense is going to make a huge splash. And I'm going to go with Jared Verse. the linebacker for the Atlanta Falcons. I think that the dude's a baller, and I think he's really going to make an impact this year. So I'm going with him.
That's a good one. I like it. I did not go chalk either, but I think I went with the number 2 in betting odds. I went with another edge, but it's Dallas Turner of the Minnesota Vikings.
New man on the Minnesota Vikings.
So, just to clarify, Jared Verse is on the Rams.
What did I say?
You said the Falcons.
Son of a... Ignore me.
Okay,
yes,
I was
Rams.
Nice.
Like, did I get that wrong? I thought I drafted him in IDP to replace in a dynasty league, and I was like,
no, you're good. I don't know. George has my brain all messed up with the Atlanta Falcons. No, I meant to say that without Aaron Donald and getting rid of what's his face, the other linebacker the Titans just got, they're going to need somebody to step up, and that's going to be Jared Verse. I'm scrambled.
I didn't know if you were also going to take, when you're thinking about that, you could also take Fisk. Is it Fisk or Fiske? The defensive tackle they actually replaced to replace Aaron Donald.
It's Fisk.
It's just Fisk. Okay.
It's rare for defensive tackles to make too much of a splash, though.
Yeah, I wanted to really bad to give it to Byron Murphy, but I didn't know how he would make enough splash as a defensive tackle in Seattle.
Run stuffs don't exactly win you. Rookie of the year.
Those defensive tackles get a lot of street cred before they end up being that, like, oh, they didn't really do much on this play, but look at them taking that double team. Like, that's how Aaron Donald was. That's how Fletcher Cox was for a long time. It takes a long time for them to really get that recognition. So I'm with you there. Offensive rookie of the year, a lot more offensive players taken at the beginning of the draft. And there was a couple of quarterbacks that I had in consideration, but I went with Marvin Harrison, wide receiver for the Cardinals.
I wanted to, but I don't know how he wins it. Like, I don't know how he does, how it's not Caleb or Jaden Daniels.
Mm-hmm.
And especially how it's not Caleb.
Yeah.
Barring,
I think Caleb is a strong favorite. I did go Jaden Daniels, however, because I feel like the only reason why I went with Jaden Daniels over Caleb Murphy is I feel like right now the pressure is on Caleb. Like, people are actually saying, like, the Bears might be one of the top teams in the NFC. They should be in the playoffs. Like, Caleb should be leading them to potential rookie in the Super Bowl. Like, I've heard some crazy stuff, but Jaden Daniels, they're still like, yeah, they're not there yet. So the expectations for Daniels are so low, and for Murphy they're so high, that I feel like it's going to be easier for Jaden Daniels to blow people away, which gives him the edge for me.
yeah, I was considering, because we're going to do bold predictions later. So this won't be mine, but one of the ones I was considering was Caleb Williams wins Offensive Rookie of the Year with worse stats than Jaden Daniels.
I could see it.
That would be very interesting. I mean, because it doesn't straight go by stats, and we know that from the MVP and everything else. So I could see it. It's a media award. Defensive Player of the Year, the second most interesting award in my opinion. Who do you got, Tyler?
I'm going with one of my favorite defensive players in all of the NFL. And if you know me, or if you've watched this show, you've heard me talk about this dude way too much. And that's Max Crosby. I'm going with him again. I think that the dude is an absolute animal. He's fun to watch. His mic'd up segments are phenomenal. But he is just ruthless on the defensive side of the ball. I'm going with Max Crosby.
Be nice to see him take a step to be in that conversation. I'd like it.
I don't even think he needs to take a step. I think he just needs to get the recognition. If he had the last name Watt, he would have won it already.
I mean, you're right. He does. I mean, I don't know if the stats quite match up with like the top 3 or 4, which I think then is why he gets overshadowed, but he's like right there. I mean, I think him being on a bad team doesn't help him either.
You want mine?
Yeah.
I'm going to go a little out there too, like Snyder did. I really like the Max Crosby one. But I'm going to go Aiden Hutchinson, defensive end for the Detroit Lions.
Nice. I like it.
He really made a huge impact down the stretch for them last year. And I think he really did come onto the scene in the playoffs. That's a really good pick there. I guess I went chalk on this one, and I went Micah Parsons for all the obvious reasons. And then he's playing on a contract year too. So we'll see if that makes even more of a difference.
Nice.
Roy.
Offensive. No. Offensive player of the year, not rookie.
Oh, you're right. Oh, boy.
Oh, boy. Offensive player of the year. I tried to think of other ways that this could go, and if he stays healthy, I think it's going to end up being Christian McCaffrey again. So I've got to repeat at this one.
Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I went super chalk. I went Christian McCaffrey as well.
Okay.
I like that you said if he stays healthy. I'm going to go Tyreek. If Tyreek stays healthy, 2,000 yards.
If he stays healthy. We're picking a lot of injury risk guys here.
The top 2 picks in fantasy, the same thing we think about the both of them. Like it sounds like everyone's either going to be really happy with those first 2 picks in fantasy or really upset.
That's fantasy football wrapped up in a nutshell.
So if you're thinking, okay, let me just throw out a little scenario here. These guys are injury risks. And George, you said earlier that you think the Bills are going to make the playoffs because Josh Allen's going to play some hero ball. If he's playing hero ball, that means he's using his legs, he's using his arm, he's doing everything he can to win these games. With him playing hero ball, no favoritism to Josh Allen winning Offensive Player of the Year. Now, I know that typically quarterbacks win the MVP, but I'm predicting MVP is being saved for other people. Any chance of Josh Allen?
I think if a non-quarterback wins MVP, I could see that as a possibility, but I kind of feel like they've been using Offensive Player of the Year as a best non-quarterback award for a while, just because it's been all quarterbacks for the MVP. But I like that argument if it does go the other way.
Okay.
And I guess I can just let it go. My MVP prediction is Josh Allen. Even though he barely sneaks into the playoffs, I think he's going to have to do some ridiculous things with his legs, carrying his team, late game comebacks. He's going to have enough heroics, and he's already enough in the public eye that he is my MVP pick.
I almost went the same route, but then I had the Bills not making the playoffs, so I couldn't quite give him the MVP. So I'm going to give it to a guy who's not going to do much with his legs, but he's definitely going to tear it up this year through the air. Give me Joe Burrow.
Tyler just spoiled my pick for MVP in Offensive Player of the Year, but I don't know where you're going, so I can't do it back to you.
Oh, you don't know where I'm going. Because it hurts me in my soul to say, but I truly, honestly believe if he stays healthy, which is a huge key point, Lamar Jackson is the favorite to win MVP this year. I think, and this is not because I'm a homer. I want that to be known. But I think the Derrick Henry signing was one of the best moves of the entire offseason. And I think it completely changes the Ravens offense, mainly because of the mobility of Lamar. I feel like that read option is going to be dirty because you can't just sell out on Lamar anymore. You can't. You have to be able to watch Derrick Henry. Lamar is going to be burning him with that read option. I feel like having Henry in the backfield, they're going to have to respect the run more. Which is going to open up that pass game even more. So I think he's going to burn people through the air. I think he's going to burn people with his legs. I think Lamar's got this one.
Very good argument. And a very good chance that he does repeat. But when you said that, I was almost like, he's going Mahomes again, isn't he?
God, no.
I thought if you're going to say if healthy, you were going to go Aaron Rodgers. Not going to lie.
No, well, we do have Comeback Player of the Year on here as well. So, Cody, why is it Aaron Rodgers?
Is it? Like, I think this is a real debate between two people that both suffered Achilles. And I've talked to both teams. So I think it's a real coin flip. But yeah, I'll go ahead and say Aaron Rodgers Comeback Player of the Year.
I'm also Aaron Rodgers, but Tyler, did you say something different?
Aaron Rodgers.
Okay. So it's Kirk Cousins. Is it your other guy?
Yeah, Kirk Cousins would be the runner-up.
I would hope for Kirk Cousins. I would prefer him over Aaron Rodgers, but I think it'll be Rodgers. He's too media loved. It's going to be a gimme.
He was too meme worthy at the I should say through most of last season with his runs out with the flag, gone 4 plays later. That like if he even finishes the season, I think he's almost guaranteed Comeback Player of the Year.
Yeah, agreed.
So we mentioned all of our awards. We mentioned our wild card and division winning teams. Do you guys want to mention your buys? Who do you have as your top seed in each conference?
I did not do that.
Good for you.
I did not either. Okay,
well then we will let it go. Just if anyone's curious, I had the Chiefs and the Detroit Lions as my 2 bye week teams. Who do you have as your Super Bowl matchup? We'll start with Cody.
Oof. All right, so I've gone back and forth on who to put in on the NFC side because I want to pick the Packers, but I feel like that's being a homer. So I'm going to go 49ers Bengals.
That'd be a fun matchup. I'd like that.
I like it. Tyler, can you beat San Fran Cincy?
I'm going with the Baltimore Ravens versus the Detroit Lions.
That is
So one of the two logo colors.
Yep.
That's funny because I also actually have the Ravens and the Lions.
All right, put a bet out. Put money on it.
You can let me know when you have a second how much that would actually pay us. I'm sure it's probably not actually that much. They're both
Well, it
in the
depends.
top
Do we
2 or
pick the
3.
same winner? Because we can pick exact finish. I have the
Do you want to say it
Baltimore
on 3
Ravens
here?
winning the Super Bowl. No, I just said it. Baltimore
You
Ravens.
just said it. You have the Ravens winning the Super Bowl. I actually have the Lions winning the Super Bowl.
Oh, then we can't do exact prediction. I will see that finish, see what it pays.
All right, so I have Lions over Ravens. Tyler has Ravens over Lions. Cody, you have San Fran Cincy. What do you got?
Yeah, that one's tough for me, but I'm going to say San Fran finally gets it done before their team implodes. So congrats to them. I don't want to see it. I want to see Packers Jets so bad, but I don't know if the script writers will allow that to happen.
So let me just hit you with, while Tyler's still looking for this. If San Fran makes it to the Super Bowl this year, that would be the first time in more than 40 years that a team lost a Super Bowl and then made it back to a Super Bowl the next season.
Okay.
Does that concern you at all?
No, it took 48 years for a team to host the Super Bowl, then they did it back to back.
Cody, not a man of superstition, I can see.
Hey, no one picked Ravens Packers to get the Super Bowl logo colors in there either. So honorable mention.
Won't even lie to you. I forgot what the Super Bowl colors were because I haven't seen anything about that since like a week after the last Super Bowl.
Well, when the Packers and Ravens are the 1 seed, we'll see it again.
I'm sure we will.
All
Any
right,
luck
so
over there, Tyler?
got Baltimore versus Detroit is plus 3,500. So a $5 bet would win $180.
It's not too shabby, especially considering they are still probably both top 3 in odds in each of their conferences.
I put $2 on it to win 72.
And that is the first Ben Tyler's money of the
my
year.
other bet is already
Chalk
been
it up.
placed.
Yeah, it is. And we're getting to that soon. First off, we have one more thing in our predictions here, and that is one bold prediction. Do we have the boldest of the bold go last? Make Tyler go last. I can go first here, I guess.
I'm not that bold this year, I'm telling you.
It's very strange to hear that. I'll go first. I don't know if this is super bold either because it's kind of been close a couple of times. I have someone will break the single season sacks record this year.
Okay. That's not an Alexander Madison 2,000 yards bold prediction, but
no, I mean,
like
we had
it.
TJ Watt really close 2 years ago. There's a couple options. I guess if you wanted to look at it, my defensive player of the year was Micah Parsons. So I guess he's my guess to do it. But I said any person would
Max
do it.
Crosby.
So am I going next then?
Go ahead.
Sure.
All right. So not only do I have the Cowboys missing the playoffs, I have Mike McCarthy getting fired by the midpoint of the season.
That is pretty
Ooh,
bold. That is
I
pretty
like
bold.
it. Especially with the Cowboys just not wanting to fire coaches.
All right. I said defense wins championships, so I think the Browns have the defense to make the playoffs. But I think that they are going to miss the playoffs thanks to the play of Deshaun Watson. I have Deshaun Watson is benched by week 8.
Nice. For
Nice.
Jameis? Eating
Yeah.
W's Jameis?
Eating dubs.
Oh, man. There's so many times that we were like, why is New Orleans just not playing Jameis Winston? To see him then get a shot in Cleveland would be fantastic.
You know, I'm going to double down on my bold prediction just because I thought of it and I think it's fun. And let's say Jason Witten is named interim head coach.
All right. I'll double down on mine and say that Jameis Winston leads the Browns to a wild card berth.
George is like,
Could we take
30
it out?
sacks, I guess.
Double down and pick your stats leader.
I don't know. Man. Alexander Madison going for 2,000 yards? I don't know.
Yes. There it is.
I don't even know if he's on a team right now. I couldn't even tell you. Okay. We're gonna go with Cody's order here, and you better get your button ready because we're gonna hit Tyler's oddball fact.
Welcome to Tyler's oddball fact.
You're missing the cigar, but this is perfect.
I was thinking the same thing.
Dude, I need it. I need to get the fake pipe that blows bubbles. That's what I need to get. I'll look one up on Amazon after this. It'll be my thing. All right. So there's two things I love in this world. It's week 1 because it's the kickoff of the NFL season, and it's making fun of the Colts. It's my two favorite things. So today, Tyler's oddball fact is the Colts are the only team in the NFL who haven't won a week 1 game over the past 10 seasons. They have a record of 0-9-1.
So, survivor pick, whoever the Colts are playing, you pick the Colts this week because they're due.
Yeah, that's it. Oh, yeah. Who's your survivor pick, guys?
Oh, wow. Just throwing us on the
We're
spot
doing
there.
survivor picks on the fly here. Man.
Survivor picks on the fly.
He's ready with that button.
Cody for the win.
I don't know how I had that one ready, but
Okay.
since we're throwing this on the fly here, we talked about this. We had our League of Record draft over the weekend. We kind of talked about this in person, and there's not a lot of great options this week. It's like, do you want to burn the Bengals against the Giants in week 1 or the Patriots? I forget which crappy team but it's one of those two teams. And then the other one that I think I'm going to go with that I haven't officially made, I think I'm going to go with the Saints over the Panthers and play a little risky in week 1.
So first, let me give a little shout out since it is week 1. We probably should explain what Survivor is. We just kind of threw ourselves into that. So Survivor is a league where every week you're going to pick one team to win. Once you pick that team, you can never pick them again. If the team you pick wins, then you move on to the next round. If the team you pick loses, then you're out. So the goal is to make it further than everybody else in your league or complete the whole season without fail. So the trick is you don't want to pick a team like the Chiefs, like the 49ers, like the Bengals too early on because you want to be able to save those good teams for later. But also, there's nothing worse in this world than being out week 1. It sucks. Which does make me a little nervous, and it made me want to pick the Bengals. But Cody, I already locked in my pick, and I am going with the Saints as well.
Okay. And the Bengals do play the Patriots, so that is the matchup. I said the Giants at first, but it's the Patriots. And yeah, it's really between those two for me. I'm probably going to go with the Saints, but I am concerned being week 1, being divisional, and I just don't like the Saints like George does, that the Panthers could get a week 1 victory with a new head coach.
The other two teams, if you're trying to find somebody that's kind of off kilter, I've heard a lot of people talking about the Vikings because they're facing the Giants. No one's expecting anything out of the Giants. Not that the Vikings are really an exciting team, but with week 1, you never know. The other one that I kind of noticed, if you want to go against a rookie quarterback, the team that's been fairly solid lately, the Seahawks, Seahawks versus the Broncos. That one's very bold, but I think that's one of the bigger spreads this week too, if you look at it by spreads. But I'm more than likely going to go safe with week 1 and take Cincinnati.
And maybe the answer is the Colts. They continue their losing streak as they play the Texans. So that'd be another option. But it sounds like I'm going to go the Saints. I'm going to lock that in right now.
All right.
And I'll go Bengals. I'll just get through week
Saints.
1 here.
Cool. So now we got to get back on schedule. And I do have a button for that.
Cha-ching.
Why does Tyler get all the cool bumpers?
I was thinking the same thing during that break.
Because I'm the best. All right, so it's time for the Spend Tyler's Money parlay of the week. This week, I picked a 5-leg parlay.
Ooh.
I know.
Okay.
I went crazy. It's week 1. You got to live a little. And I will let the folks out there know that I am a baller on a budget, so I am not betting big money on these. It is a $5 bet every single week. But if you do make the same bet as me, please screenshot it, send it to me. I'd love to see it. Please tail these bets. It'd be awesome. Let's win some money together. So this
We should make a
parlay,
betting group.
I should.
Couch GMs betting group.
Couch GMs betting group. You want to join it? DM us. We got you. So this parlay is called the New Team, New Me parlay. We're going to start it off with this Friday night game. The two of you are looking forward to with the Packers and the Eagles. And
We're
I'm
all
going to
looking
go
forward to
with
it.
Josh Jacobs and Saquon Barkley each to rush for 60-plus yards. I'm going both of them. New team, they're going to
Is
show
that
up.
2 legs or is that actually combined on the bet slip?
That is 2 different legs.
Okay, just making sure.
So each one of them are going to rush for 60-plus yards. I have Kirk Cousins is going to throw for 250-plus passing yards. I have a Marvin Harrison Jr. anytime touchdown. New man on the team. I think he's going to want to show up week 1. And I also have my boy, Derrick Henry, anytime touchdown. I think it's chalk. I think that one's a gimme. Week 1, he's going to want to show up. So that 5-leg is a plus 29.63 parlay, meaning my $5 would win me $153.15.
He's out here trying to pay for his bets for the rest of the year in 1 week.
That's it. Cash it. It's going to win.
I like that. And just remember, this is not financial advice. This is just for pure entertainment. And hopefully Tyler does win some money. Little disclaimer there for anyone that cares.
Yeah. If you have a gambling addiction, don't listen to me right now.
1-800-GAMBLER.
Under gambler.
Nice.
All right.
We are
sweet.
responsible bettors here at the Couch GMs podcast.
Never mind. Not going to go into that story either.
Cody, get us out of here before this gets worse.
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry. I was going to say, is there anything else you all want to talk about? I mean, it's week 1. Anything else you want to hit on, talk about?
Tighten up, baby.
I'm
Tighten
just
up.
happy to be here.
You're just happy to be here.
Go Birds.
All right. Well, George is happy to be here for now. I think we're all watching the game together on Friday, which can be exciting as the Packers take on the Eagles, and probably won't be talking next week, but actually we are because next week, because we're going to be live. I love you on our social media platforms. We haven't worked out all the kinks, but we're going to do it on the fly next Monday, 6:30. Make sure you join us then and stay up to date with all going on at the Couch GM by following us on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, and I need to hit the bumper so Tyler can put that helmet down.